Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to Open Roads and Theatre Seats. Hello if you are new, welcome back if you're not. Grab a cuppa, sit down and let's get into it. Today we are going to be doing the 2022 year in review. I just wanted to say that because it rhymes and I like rhyming words. We're going to talk about what shows I saw in the past year. I'm planning to get this edited and uploaded so it is done and dusted for the 31st of December. Fingers crossed we did that. And yeah, basically, it could be a long one because we need to get through all of these programs. Just to, before we start, address the elephant and the dinosaur in the room. Firstly, the dinosaur in the room. I do wear this cardigan a lot. Apparently every time I want to film I'm wearing it. I could have changed, I'm not going to. I love this cardigan, okay. Secondly, I have got some kind of lurgy like everyone else. I am constantly testing. At the moment it is not COVID, it is just cold, but if my voice goes or if it's a bit like choppy at certain points, it's probably because I've talked too much and given myself a bit of a coughing fit. You are welcome. But enough of me and my woes. Let's go into the review. Anyway, enough yammering on, let's get into the year, starting with January. So January for me, like I said, was relatively quiet on the theatre front. I only in fact saw one thing, and that was the UK tour of Addams Family. I saw it at the Alex in Birmingham and I love the Addams Family. It is one of those shows I could watch again and again. I try and catch it every time it does a tour. I think it's done 2 tours, caught it both times. Yeah. And yeah, there's something about it. The music is great. It is written by Andrew Lipper. The characters in it are a bit out there but not too out there. The story is good. I just really enjoy watching this show. And yeah, I was kind of gutted for them when it was announced that they weren't going to do it their entire tour. In the end they got cut off, I think 3 venues from the end. They announced they were going to end early, which was a bit gutting because it is a great show and I feel sorry for the people who missed out on this production. But yeah, that was my January show and I really enjoyed watching it again. Fingers crossed it come back in a couple of years. Then my next show wasn't until March, but for me March was kind of important because it introduced me to a little show that I probably haven't mentioned at all on this platform since I started it. I'm being sarcastic, there's literally a poster behind me because March saw me watching The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe for the first time. This was whilst it was on its UK tour. Again, I went to the Alex for it, and yeah, if I knew what this show would do to me over the entirety of this year, I was gonna say I wouldn't have believed it. I kind of would, because it has the elements that I love in a show. Number one, it has a great story. It's a story I know well. I've been brought up on it. 2, it has actor musicians. We all know how I feel about those. And 3, it had some of the Emily cast in it and I was kind of obsessed with that show too. I mean, I also have the poster right there for that show. But yeah, stepping into Narnia for the first time whilst it was in Birmingham was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, just the amount of memories this show has for me throughout this year is absolutely crazy. You will see and hear me mention this show a couple more times during this video. But yeah, it started the love affair when it was in Birmingham on the tour, and as soon as I left the Alex I was like, okay, if this does anything else or if this doesn't not announce a residency somewhere else, then I'm gonna have to go and see it again. And go to see it again I did. And in April we had first the UK tour of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Again, this show was really good. I went on a Wednesday afternoon, a Wednesday matinee, to see the show in the Grand, and I absolutely loved it. I wouldn't be surprised if next year they announce some kind of extension or London home for a while, because it was so brilliant and really cleverly done, and I just think it needs another home or another run at some time soon. I think this one also was kind of caught off guard by COVID, as many shows were / still are. So yeah, maybe this year, next year, maybe the year after, we might get another run of this show, and I would 100% recommend it because it was absolutely brilliant. Still in April, and actually not anywhere in the Midlands, we had the Dreamgirls UK tour, which is still on as I record this video. It's still actually in. Actually, is it? I think it might have just finished. It has been in Birmingham recently, and I actually didn't get a chance to go back and see it, but I did see it at the Edinburgh Playhouse when I was in Edinburgh on a trip exploring the land this year, and I saw that Dreamgirls was on tour at the Playhouse, and I was like, well, I did say I wanted to see more theatres, and so I went into one of the UK's largest theatres, the Playhouse in Edinburgh, got myself a ticket, saw this show. It was absolutely brilliant, and yeah, it was really cool to see this amazing show in somewhere absolutely huge, and the crowd were like 100% with it. It was just a great watch, and yeah, crazy to think that I actually went to see something in Scotland this year. But I did, and it was great. And final two shows in April were the premiere of the Share Show at the Curve in Leicester. I was very nicely invited by a friend to go and watch it. She had a press ticket, and I was like, yes please. Again, I think I mentioned it in my last theatre video that it is one of my top 5 shows of the year. It's absolutely brilliant. I've seen it twice now, and I would 100% go and see it again if it was coming anywhere near me before the run finishes. It's a great show. The cast in it are insane. The whole production is just brilliant, and yeah, I love it. And then the next day after I saw the Share Show, I went again to the Alex. It might be my most visited theatre this year, I think. And instead I went to see Footloose. I have never seen Footloose in my life until this year. I've never seen the film, and yeah, I just have not seen it, didn't know anything about it. Stepped into the theatre, was took back to the 80s. Had a great time. I now am obsessed with the song Somebody's Eyes from Footloose. It's just so catchy, and yeah, I really enjoyed this tour and this production, and I would probably go and see Footloose again if it has another run. There we go, I said it. Moving into May, we had one show, which was We Will Rock You at the Wolves Grand. I love We Will Rock You. On reflection, I would say this probably wasn't its best production. The cast, as always, is excellent, but there was something about the way that the set was done in this production was slightly it was very much 2 levels with the band. Were they in view, or they were just, no, they were just out of view, and then the back was just an LED screen, and then there was limited props and set pieces on the stage. Yeah, I love We Will Rock You, but this production wasn't its best, just for those reasons. They have announced that We Will Rock You will be back in London this next year, in 2023. I don't know how to place it, and I will probably go and try and check it out, but fingers crossed they think a bit into it and make it absolutely brilliant again, as they should, as they can, because there are just elements of this production that I was just like, could do better. Moving into June, we had my first 3-show weekend of the year, but also since COVID, and what a 3 I picked. Firstly, we had the Regent's Park open air theatre production of Legally Blonde, fronted by Courtney Bowman. The cast were insane, the weather we had was insane. I mean, I think I came back sunburnt, but that is by the by. But yes, this was an amazing production. It's one of those shows I kind of wish they bring back at some point. Legally Blonde, but also this production of it. It was absolutely brilliant, probably in my top 10 of the year. It was excellent, and I just like programmes that I can do this with. There's something fun about that. So all round excellent. And in the evening of that weekend I watched The Drifters Girl. I love this show. I only saw it this once, but I would fully go back and try and catch it on tour in 2023. Very excited to hear who they're going to cast as the Drifters and Faye Treadwell. The songs in it are amazing. The show tells the true life story of the Drifters and the Drifters Girl, Faye Treadwell, and just everything about this show was brilliant, and I'm very excited to see what they do with it on tour. Finishing off the 3-show weekend, we had this massive programme, Back to the Future. It was one that I got a relatively cheap ticket for, but it was one on my list of shows I wanted to watch, and I really did enjoy seeing it. I've never seen, I kind of out myself when I say these things, but I've never seen Back to the Future the film. Still haven't seen it, even though I've watched the musical version. And yeah, I didn't know what I was stepping in for. Had an amazing time. I had the amazing Ollie Dobson as Marty McFly and excuse me, Roger Bart as the Doctor. Yeah, and yeah, it was a great show, and I really enjoyed watching it. Finishing off June, we had Waitress, the UK tour, which I saw at the Wolverhampton Grand. If you know me, you know that I love the show Waitress, which is an interesting one to grow attached to, just because of its story plot. But the music for me is a winner. It's all been written by Sarah Bareilles. The cast on tour were absolutely amazing, and I was also very lucky to see David Hunter back as Dr. Pomatter. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing, and again, I really want this show to come back at some point. Give it a couple of years, bring it back with a vengeance. Thank you very much. Next up in July, we had my first trip to the jungle ever, when I went to see the Choir of Man at the Assembly Festival Gardens in Coventry. Like I said, my first experience of the jungle, first experience of this show. Yes, incredible show. I think I put it in my top 5 of the year. It is just a feel-good show, cannot be beaten, and when it was in the Assembly Festival Gardens in Coventry, it was also absolutely excellent, because it was like a massive tent, so you kind of felt like you're at a festival, but a festival that people were drinking beer and dancing and everything was really close. Plus you could also pick where you wanted to sit, so my friends picked to sit front row. That was an experience in itself. But yes, it is a great show, and it is also still in London, as we will get into in a minute. We had Kinky Boots, the musical in concert. I saw this on the second night, which was the 9th. My birthday is the 8th, and Kinky Boots is one of my favourite shows in the ever. So it was a match made in heaven, and the cast again were amazing. Courtney Bowman, Joel Harper-Jackson and Cedric Neal being the main three, of which I have their signatures. And yeah, it was an incredible production. It really highlighted to me how much Kinky Boots and the music and the story truly means to me. And yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal to watch. And yeah, I will treasure this programme and my memories of this show and this concert for years to come, because it was absolutely brilliant. Speaking of shows that will remain in the memory for a while, and actually seeing as the matinee to the concert, we have A Pretty Woman the musical. I saw this for what was my second time. I saw it almost in the exact same space that I saw it the first time around, and I saw it with my good friend as well. But the reason that it was sticking in my mind for a while to come is because this time round was a show that was filled with many an understudy. Not as many as it's had recently. If you don't follow Pretty Woman and their understudies, you won't have seen that two members of the ensemble slash swings this week went on for roles they have never done before. One of them went on as Kit and one of them went on as Violetta. Neither of those normally take that track, so I was like, I'm so jealous that people are seeing this. But that's by the by. We saw understudies on for Vivian and for Edward. We also had an understudy on for Violetta, and we also had one more off, and I can't for the life of me think who it is right now, and I truly apologise for that. But yeah, this show is incredible as is. The understudies, covers and swings of this show are second to none, and yeah, whether you see full cast or you see a covered cast, cut cast, you will be in for a treat. I also want to go back and see it in 2023 because I really want to see Courtney Bowman as Kit, but that's by the by. So that was that. And then on the Sunday, so this weekend was, actually no, it was a midweek, but before I went home the following day, I saw Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, of course. This has become me and my friends' like go-to show, and we were both in London. We had both seen Pretty Woman, and then we were like, okay, what else do we want to go and watch? It was around my birthday, it was around his birthday, and so we went to see The Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. It was my first time seeing it in London, my second time seeing it overall, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've already whittled on about it. But yeah, I love it, it's great. This was take two. Finally in August, and also during the little trip to London that I had, I watched Anything Goes at the Barbican. It was my first experience at the Barbican. It was my first experience seeing Anything Goes live, because before all I'd seen was the recorded version they did with Sutton Foster in it. This production had Kerry Ellis in it, and it was really cool to see her take on the role of Reno Sweeney. The Barbican is beautiful as well, if not a bit confusing, and you need a map to get in and out of it, or I did. But yes, this show absolutely was amazing. The cast involved were excellent, and just everything about it was brilliant. There we go. September saw two trips to two Birmingham theatres to see two separate tours, I think on the same day. I think we had up first Fisherman's Friend the musical, a show that again I knew nothing about going in, and I was pleasantly surprised and fell in love with it head first straight away. to the point that I am quite interested to find out where it's going to be once it comes back from Canada to watch it again, because it's just so great. And there's also talk of a cast recording, so I will get to listen to The Village by Over the Sea on a daily basis, and I'm quite happy about that. The other show I saw in September is one I don't have a programme for because it ran out. I nearly cried at the person who told me that news, but it was The Colour Purple at the Birmingham Hippodrome. I'd seen it in its last iteration back in 2017. That doesn't sound right in my head now, but that's what I'm going to go with. And it was amazing to see it yet again. The cast involved this time around were absolutely amazing, and I thoroughly enjoyed returning to that show. It still makes me cry, but that is okay. Emotions are there to be felt, and I felt them hard. Moving on to October, which apparently was my busiest theatre month, we had first at the Wolverhampton Grand The Commitments. Again, a show I knew nothing about prior to going in, and it's one that again I would quite happily go and watch again. The whole premise of actor musicians worked again. Oh, you know me and actor musicians, I will fall in love with a show hard if I find out that that is the case. And again, this was absolutely brilliant. Then we have my return visit to see the Cher show. I have already mentioned it. I went to the world premiere, the UK premiere of the show in Leicester back in April, and then I saw it with my mum at the Wolves Grand when it came in October. Still brilliant. We had an understudy on for Sunny, but the rest of the cast I believe we had on as standard. I've already said a lot about this show already. It's got everything you need. Even if you don't like or you don't know the music of Cher, you will not be disappointed. This show is absolutely amazing. Then we returned to London to see My Son's Queer But What Can You Do, the one-person show involving Rob Madge, person, the myth, the legend. This show is actually returning to London in 2023. It's going to the Ambassadors. Kind of tempted to go again, however I don't know if my heart can take it because it is mega emotional. But like I said, yeah, you're made to have emotions to feel them. But yes, this show was absolutely amazing, and I would 100% recommend checking it out. Whether you be old, young, big or small, it's a great one. I then watched The Choir of Man in the evening. Like I said, I'd watched it previously in the year in Coventry, and then I went to its big brother, don't know how to describe it, at the Arts in London, where it's currently got its home. It felt different to be in a different jungle, but it still felt amazing to be there. The atmosphere is brilliant. It was a Saturday night, so everyone was up for it. Bit too up for it, some people, but that's by the by. But yes, incredible show, 100% recommend. And then rounding out October, we returned to this show, you know, number 3, take 3. There we are. Don't need to say much more, do I? Rawr. And then we get into December, our final month, starting off with Nativity, the musical at the Birmingham Rep. I definitely have a review on this show on this page if you want to go and check it out. But long and short of it, I love this show, and this time around was no exception. It's still absolutely brilliant. It's still amazing. Go and watch it. Then went to the Panto in the Wolves Grand, to Aladdin. I haven't been to a Panto in years, and I was lucky enough to be gifted a ticket to watch it and review it for my friend's page, Theatre and Tonic. I now want to go and watch a Panto every year. This may not be the last Panto on my list, spoiler alert, but yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. It's still running at the time of me filming and uploading. The Wolves Grand one is going until the 7th of January, so if you are in the local area, go and check it out. We then had one final trip to a show I haven't talked about a lot in this, yeah, take 4. I went not too long ago, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I took my mum this time round, and it can do no wrong, this show. I still 4 times through cannot work out some of the illusions, and every single time I pick up something different. I feel something different at a different point in the show, and yeah, it's a phenomenal piece of theatre, and I'm very, very sad that it's going to be closing in not too long. And then finally we have one more show, and it is a panto. I went to the Bristol Hippodrome panto, which is Cinderella this year. I have written a review for it on my blog post. My blog is always linked down below, so if you want to check it out, please do. But yeah, I went to go and see the Bristol panto. I had an afternoon to myself in Bristol, and I was like, you know what, we're going to panto it up, and we did. The cast in this one were brilliant. It involves Craig Revel-Horwood, and yeah, it was just absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, this one has now finished. It closed on the 31st of December, so you can't watch this one anymore, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time watching this show in the amazing Bristol Hippodrome, a theatre I do want to go back to a few times next year. Not too bad a collection. Granted, I could make this pile a lot bigger by buying a programme to line up to the wardrobe every time I saw it, but I've only got 2. I've got the tour one, and I've got one from the London production at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, that is it. My year in review done. Let me know if you like this way of doing this, because I do like to review my year, but if this is not the way you want to see it next year, let me know and we can brainstorm some ideas before I have to film it this time next year. Let's not think about that, that's a bit crazy. Fingers crossed next year will bring us more theatre, some exciting reviews, some lovely chats, and yeah, just joy and happiness. The things that theatre is supposed to bring us. I will see you in the new year. Happy New Year. I love you all lots, and I hope to see you in 2023. Bye everyone. Just hands. Oh, I need to love some more.